The concept of freedom is often misunderstood. Most people believe that freedom comes from acquiring something, more possessions, more power, more recognition. They believe that the more they have or control, the more liberated they will feel. But the true essence of freedom lies in the ability to let go, to release the things, ideas and attachments that bind us. In our daily lives, we hold on to countless things, past memories, unfulfilled desires, expectations of how things should be, and fears about what could happen. Each of these attachments creates a subtle tension within us, a feeling of being trapped in a cycle of clinging. We are conditioned to believe that these attachments define us, that they are essential to our happiness and identity. Yet, the more tightly we hold on to them, the more constrained we become. Letting go is not a simple act of discarding things, but a shift in perspective. It requires us to release our attachment to outcomes and the need for certainty. When we let go, we are not giving up on our goals or aspirations. Instead, we are surrendering our need to control the path to them. We learn to trust that the universe will unfold as it is meant to, even if we don't have the blueprint in hand. The act of letting go brings a profound sense of liberation. It frees us from the emotional baggage we carry, from the weight of past experiences and future anxieties. When we are no longer tethered to the past, we are free to be fully present in the moment, experiencing life as it comes without the burden of expectations or regrets. Letting go also means releasing judgment of ourselves, others, and the world around us. It is through the release of judgment that we can experience life without the filters of preconceived notions, allowing us to see things clearly and authentically. Perhaps one of the most powerful aspects of letting go is the freedom it provides from the mind. Our thoughts often keep us trapped in loops of worry, self-doubt, and constant striving. We are constantly thinking, planning, and analyzing, trying to figure out how to navigate every situation. But the more we identify with our thoughts, the more we become enslaved by them. Letting go of this mental grip gives us the space to simply be. In that space, we find peace. Letting go also applies to our attachments to people. We often seek validation and love from others, relying on them to complete us or fulfill our emotional needs. But true freedom arises when we stop depending on others for our sense of worth. By letting go of the need for external approval, we come to realize that our happiness and fulfillment come from within. We are whole on our own, not because of what others give us, but because of who we are at our core. When we let go, we open ourselves to the flow of life. We stop resisting the natural course of events and instead align ourselves with the energy of the universe. In this state, life becomes less about trying to control and more about embracing what is. The more we let go, the more space we create within ourselves for joy, peace, and love. And in that space, we find true freedom, a freedom that is not bound by anything external, but comes from within. True freedom is not about what we gain, but about what we release. When we let go of the attachments that bind us, we experience the liberation of being fully present, fully alive, and at peace with the flow of life as it is. This freedom is not something we acquire, it is something we allow, something we already possess deep within us, waiting to be realized. Life is often described as a mirror, reflecting back to us the thoughts, emotions, and energy that we put into the world. It mirrors not just our actions, but the very essence of who we are, showing us the results of the energy we emit and the perspectives we hold. What we see in the world around us is often a direct reflection of our inner state, and understanding this can bring profound clarity and insight into how we interact with life. When you look at a mirror, what you see is a reflection of yourself, not a literal representation, but a reflection of physical appearance, your posture, your expression, and even your mood at the moment. Life operates in much the same way. The circumstances, situations, and relationships that unfold in our lives are often a direct reflection of how we think, feel, and respond to the world. Our internal world creates the external one, and when we change our internal environment, we begin to see shifts in the external world. For instance, if we harbor negative thoughts, hold on to anger, or approach life with fear and distrust, these energies are reflected back to us in our experiences. We might find ourselves encountering situations that confirm our beliefs, conflicts, disappointments, and struggles. Similarly, when we hold positive, compassionate, and loving thoughts, life seems to mirror that back to us in the form of harmonious relationships, opportunities, and peaceful experiences. It's as if the world is echoing the energy we put out, helping us to see where we are emotionally and mentally. Life as a mirror also shows us the areas in which we need growth. When we find ourselves repeatedly facing challenges or encountering certain types of people or situations, it's often an invitation to look inward. Life may be reflecting back to us aspects of ourselves that we have not yet fully understood or accepted. It could be a pattern of behavior, an unresolved emotion, or a limiting belief that we continue to project onto the world. By examining these reflections, we can gain insight into what needs healing or transformation within ourselves. The mirror of life also helps us become more self-aware. Just as looking into a physical mirror allows us to adjust our appearance, looking into the metaphorical mirror of life gives us the opportunity to adjust our thoughts, behaviors, and attitudes. It helps us see how our actions align with our intentions and whether we are living authentically or merely reacting to circumstances. Life's mirror is not judgmental, it simply reflects what we put out into the world, offering us a chance to see ourselves more clearly and make conscious decisions about how we want to show up in the world. Our relationships are another way in which life acts as a mirror. The people we interact with often reflect back to us qualities or patterns we may not be aware of in ourselves. If we find ourselves constantly encountering individuals who are critical, disrespectful, or challenging, it's worth reflecting on whether these behaviors are a mirror of how we are treating ourselves or others. On the other hand, if we are surrounded by loving and supportive people, it may indicate that we have cultivated a sense of self-worth and openness in our own hearts. Life's mirror can also serve as a tool for self-empowerment. If we can understand that the world reflects our inner state, we can begin to shift our experiences by shifting our mindset. If we want to experience more peace, joy, and love in our lives, we can start by cultivating these qualities within ourselves. The mirror of life will respond in kind, reflecting the changes we make within. The more we become aware of this dynamic, the more empowered we feel to create the life we desire. Moreover, life's mirror teaches us the importance of self-reflection. Just as we look into a mirror to assess how we appear and make adjustments, it's essential to regularly look inward and evaluate our thoughts, behaviors, and intentions. Self-reflection allows us to see what we are projecting into the world and gives us the opportunity to make conscious shifts. When we stop and take a moment to reflect, we can learn from our experiences and evolve into more aligned versions of ourselves. Ultimately, life as a mirror reveals the interconnectedness of all things. What we send out into the world is returned to us, not always in the form we expect, but in the form that is most meaningful for our growth. By recognizing that life reflects back to us what we put into it, we can cultivate a deeper sense of responsibility and awareness in our lives. We realize that we are not passive recipients of life's events, but active participants in shaping our experience. Life is constantly reflecting our inner state, our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions. It shows us where we are, where we need to grow, and how we can shift our experience. When we understand life as a mirror, we gain the power to transform our world from the inside out, seeing that every experience, person, and event is an opportunity for deeper self-awareness, healing, and growth. We are the creators of our reality, and by changing the reflection within, we begin to see a different, more expansive world around us. Surrendering to the unknown is one of the most powerful acts of trust and faith we can engage in. It requires us to let go of our need for control and certainty and instead open ourselves to the unpredictable nature of life. In a world that often prioritizes security, predictability, and the illusion of control, surrendering to the unknown can feel frightening and counterintuitive. Yet, it is in this very surrender that we find freedom, growth, and the deep sense of peace that comes from accepting life as it unfolds. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned to seek safety and stability. We learn to plan, to prepare, and to control our circumstances in order to avoid the unknown, the unpredictable. We create rigid structures in our lives, believing that certainty will bring us security. But the truth is, life is inherently uncertain. No matter how much we plan, no matter how much we control, the future remains a mystery. What we can rely on is the present moment, the unfolding of life as it happens. Surrendering to the unknown doesn't mean giving up or resigning ourselves to fate. It means letting go of our attachment to the idea that we can control every outcome. It means accepting that there will always be aspects of life beyond our understanding, and that's okay. In fact, it is this uncertainty that makes life rich and meaningful. If we knew everything, if we could control every situation, life would lose its sense of wonder and excitement. The unknown is the space where possibility exists, where creativity, adventure, and growth emerge. To surrender to the unknown is to trust in the flow of life. It is to recognize that just as nature works in its cycles, the seasons change, the tides rise and fall, the sun sets and rises again, life has its own rhythm, its own natural unfolding. When we try to control or resist this flow, we create tension and stress. But when we surrender to it, we become part of that flow, moving with it rather than against it. We find a sense of peace in the knowing that life, in all its unpredictability, is always guiding us in the direction we need to go. The unknown holds within it infinite potential. It is the space where new opportunities arise, where new relationships are formed, where creativity can blossom. When we are willing to let go of the familiar, when we stop clinging to the past or obsessing over the future, we open ourselves to a world of possibilities. The unknown is not a place of danger, but a fertile ground for growth. It is in the unknown that we find the courage to step into new experiences, to take risks, and to stretch beyond our limits. Surrendering to the unknown also requires us to release our attachment to outcomes. Often, we attach ourselves to a specific vision of how things should unfold. We set expectations, and when things don't go as planned, we feel disappointment, frustration, or even fear. But when we let go of these attachments, we free ourselves from the burden of expectation. We begin to trust that whatever happens is part of the bigger picture and that life is unfolding exactly as it is meant to. By surrendering our attachment to outcomes, we invite peace and acceptance into our lives regardless of how things turn out. There is also great power in surrendering to the unknown when it comes to relationships. We often approach relationships with expectations and fears about what they should look like, who others should be, or how we want them to make us feel. This desire for certainty in relationships can create tension, conflict, and disappointment. But when we let go of these rigid expectations and allow the relationship to unfold naturally, we experience great depth and authenticity. Surrendering to the unknown means accepting the imperfections in others and in ourselves, trusting that the connection will grow and evolve in its own time. Surrendering to the unknown is also a deeply spiritual act. It is an acknowledgement that there is a greater intelligence at work in the universe, one that we may not fully understand but can trust, whether we call it God, Source, the universe, or simply the flow of life. There is a force that guides us even when we cannot see the path ahead. When we surrender, we place our trust in this greater intelligence, knowing that we are being guided toward what is best for us, even if it doesn't match our preconceived ideas or desires. This surrender fosters a deep sense of faith and spiritual connection as we realize that we are not alone on this journey and that the unknown is not something to fear but something to embrace with open arms. At its core, surrendering to the unknown is an invitation to live with a sense of adventure, curiosity, and openness. It asks us to release our need to control every aspect of our lives and instead trust the process of life itself. The unknown becomes not a place of fear, but a place of possibility, a space where we can grow, evolve, and become more than we ever imagined. When we let go of the need for certainty, we begin to experience life as it truly is, ever-changing, full of surprises and brimming with opportunities for growth and transformation. In surrendering to the unknown, we also learn to be present. We stop worrying about the future, analyzing the past, or trying to predict what will happen next. Instead, we anchor ourselves in the present moment where life is unfolding right in front of us. We stop living in a state of anxiety or anticipation, and instead, we embrace the unknown with openness, trust, and curiosity. The unknown becomes not a threat, but a teacher, a guide, and a friend. Ultimately, surrendering to the unknown brings us into alignment with the flow of life. It invites us to let go of our need for control and perfection, and to trust that whatever is meant to happen will unfold in the perfect way. When we surrender, we release the resistance that keeps us stuck and we allow life to move through us, guiding us to places we could never have imagined on our own. By embracing the unknown, we find a deeper sense of peace, freedom, and fulfillment, knowing that we are part of a vast unfolding mystery and that we are exactly where we need to be. As we reflect on the unity of life and death, we come to understand that neither can be experienced without the other. Life is not merely the opposite of death, and death is not the opposite of life. They are the two faces of the same coin, forever intertwined, shaping and giving meaning to one another. By embracing this unity, we dissolve the fear and anxiety that often accompany our understanding of death. Instead of seeing death as an enemy, we come to view it as a natural, essential part of the eternal cycle of existence, a cycle that breathes life into the world and, in return, allows for the renewal of life itself. In this recognition, we can find peace. When we stop resisting the reality of death, we open ourselves to the fullness of life. We begin to appreciate the fleeting nature of our time on earth, not as a cause for fear, but as a catalyst for living with greater presence, purpose, and gratitude. Every moment becomes precious, every breath more meaningful, as we acknowledge that this gift of life is temporary, and in its impermanence lies its beauty. This understanding also calls us to live more harmoniously with the world around us. Just as life and death are intimately connected, so too are we connected to the planet, to the other beings we share this world with, and to the very cycles of nature. The awareness of the unity of life and death should inspire us to live with greater compassion, respect, and reverence for all forms of life. It should motivate us to care for the earth, to honor the preciousness of all existence, and to understand that our lives are but a moment in the vast and ever-evolving dance of the universe. As we journey through life, let us remember that death is not something to avoid or fear, but something to be understood and embraced. It is the great teacher guiding us to live fully, deeply, and with profound awareness. It is through surrendering to the unity of life and death that we can experience true freedom, the freedom to live without fear, to let go of what no longer serves us, and to step into each moment with an open heart and mind. And so, as we walk this path of life, let us carry with us the deep knowing that life and death are one. May this understanding bring us peace, may it deepen our compassion for others, and may it open our hearts to the eternal cycle of creation and dissolution that unfolds around us. In this unity, we find the greatest wisdom that life, in all its beauty and transience, is a gift, and death, in all its mystery, is simply a part of that gift, one that brings us closer to the timeless, boundless nature of existence.